Right, hello guys. Today I'm responding to a question from Behrouz Khabiri, who had a question regarding the connection and relationship between semen retention and the secretion of DMT. So this is a very interesting topic. It's quite a high level one as well, but I'm just going to cover over the basic points. It's very clear and it's widely known that there is a direct connection between the brain and the genital organ. And the strength of the brain and the strength of the genital organ are interconnected and interdependent. That can be felt, obviously, as soon as there's an emission, as soon as there's a release. It's felt in the brain. There is a tiredness, there is a heavy-headedness, there is a kind of brain fog that takes place. And obviously, the hormonal changes that take place as a result of the release are so powerful that they can actually last up to 2 weeks, okay? And hormones are the basis of life, they're the basis of personality, character, and biology within a human being. And, you know, the changes of dopamine to vasopressin, the increase of cortisol, the effects of the changes in the brain chemistry that take place are absolutely immense. So that just shows you how just a simple release completely changes the chemical makeup of your brain and your body, which can be felt by everyone from experience. So there is an idea and there's an understanding that by depleting your vital essence via continuous releases, you're actually draining your brain, right? The first organs that will be drained after your testicles will be your kidneys, and above your kidneys, your adrenal glands, which leads to adrenal fatigue. And after that, it needs to start taking more energy from wherever it can, and ultimately it will draw it from the brain. So death is when the energy is flowing downward and outward, and life is when the energy is moving upward. So the whole purpose of the retention and the benefits that everyone gets is because the energy, instead of coming out of the body, is moving up and it's going back up to the brain, okay? Once the brain is full of the sexual energy, there'll be a number of different effects that can take place. There are systems in Kundalini Yoga that talk about it, this Kundalini effect. If you want to research that, you can. But among the clearest sign that your brain is actually releasing DMT is that you'll have a sweet taste in your saliva. It will have a different texture and it will have a kind of sweet taste. Your body will also generate an increase in pheromones that will have a different, distinct and very pleasant smell. These can happen before DMT is actually released, but these will take place alongside it. So now you have to understand that there are glands in the body, and the purpose of the glands are to secrete, okay? So your testicles secrete testosterone, right? If your testicles are empty because of releasing, they are just not functioning to their full level, okay? So that will affect your sexuality and your survival basis of life. Then all of the other glands that exist in your body will be in a weakened state and they won't be functioning. Now, the glands in the brain that are of primary concern are the pituitary gland and obviously the pineal gland. The pituitary gland is a gland inside the brain that is responsible for the production of growth hormone. So if you've got your energy moving up towards your brain instead of out of your privates, you can increase the secretions of your glands. So your pituitary gland will produce more growth hormone, which is normally released when you're sleeping. If you're having more growth hormone, it's anti-aging. Your cells are replenished and enlivened and revitalized simply because of the growth hormone that's being released and secreted by your pituitary gland. Your bone density increases. You can actually grow in structure, muscular and bone. Your bone density will become a lot stronger, your voice will get deeper. All of the effects of like growing from a child into an adult are as a result of growth hormone. Beyond that, you have the the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is the sacred and special gland. It's the size of a pea. It's in the middle of your brain. It's also known as your third eye. And this is the gland that will secrete DMT. Okay, if you want to know what DMT is, I can do another video on that later. There are different ways of stimulating DMT. A lot of people are doing that via psychedelics and natural drugs or even chemical drugs. I wouldn't advise doing any of that. I would advise your body producing its own DMT through the hard work of raising your energy up to the higher centers. As a result of that, all of the glands in your body, all of the chakras, and all of the effects of those glands and chakras will come into effect, and it's a transformation in your life. Once your brain is as such semenized, so the fluid is moved up to the brain and the energy is nourishing it, you're functioning on a whole different level. A lot of people, if they're just throwing away their sacred fluids, they're not functioning even half of the potentiality that they have. Okay, they're constantly in a depleted state. But once you draw that energy up and you conserve it, and your pineal gland is releasing DMT, then you're functioning on a whole new level. It's almost like you're plugged into the internet, in a sense that your intuition increases, your sensitivity increases, your instinct becomes a lot clearer. You can have a lot of vivid experiences. You see through the nonsense. It's almost like you turn the light on as such. You see things for what they are. And you become a more spiritually powerful person simply through the force of your spirit and character, because it's being emitted via the pineal gland, which is functioning. If that's not functioning, then you don't know yourself, the people around you don't know you, because you're not a complete person. You've never reached the capacity of what you actually could be. So that's just some basic information there. And I hope it's of benefit to you. You can only experience this via practice and via conserving. There are numerous systems that have tried to increase or elevate the energy moving upwards to release DMT. Some of it's Kundalini. From my experience, there are thousands of different ways of doing it, but the true methods all depend on semen retention. In order to have the energy to actually activate it. And then how you get the energy up there's multiple different ways. Some are direct, some are indirect. It will naturally happen by itself anyway. But there are some very, very direct methods of drawing the energy to your brain and releasing the DMT. Which I may talk about privately for very serious students or people of interest. They can reach out to my email on that. But if you just want to retain, you're going to get all of those benefits, and it will increase the DMT that's being produced by your pineal gland. Always remember the connection between your brain and your genitals. It's not just about which one you think with when you're tempted. It's about the actual connection. Your brain has different fluids around it, and it travels along your spine, and it goes down to your genitals, and this affects your bone marrow, your cerebrospinal fluid, which is a fluid that runs along your nerves and your spine, and the cerebral fluid, which encases your brain. Also, huge amounts of lecithin, and choline and inositol inside the brain. All of these are decreased every time you release, because you're just drawing that energy out. So you've got the material and then you've got the energy, and they're both connected. But in the end, you're trying to separate the energy from the material in order to live to your full potential and activate your pineal and pituitary gland. So you've got a lot of growth hormone in your body, and you're releasing DMT, not just as like one shot, but constantly. And that's just a natural state we're all supposed to be in, right? Our glands are supposed to be working as they were intended to work. They're not supposed to be starved and, facing a drought because we've got a hole somewhere in our bucket where we're just losing all of our oil, right? So the key is to conserve the oil, turn it into fire and electrical energy, and activate our glands to the full potential. Right, I hope that's helpful. Make sure you like and subscribe.